This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Lots of people think they've got a book inside of them, but few do anything about it. Vito Altavilla of Cincinnati had a book inside too, but he has done something about it. He's used a self-publisher to get his book It Began in Brooklyn edited and published. So how'd he do it? What'd he have to overcome? Vito Altavilla offers some tips from his own experience in this Biz News podcast. You have written a book. A lot of people have written a book. Why, though, did you write a book?
It started because of the guys for breakfast meetings, guys from the church. They said, I had a lot of stories, and they said, why don't you write a book? And I said, I think I'll give it a shot. I mean, I'm a retired industrial research chemist, and I had a lot of time on my hands. I said, and I just started writing, and it was amazing how much stuff comes back to you as you're writing. It was almost as though it's writing itself. And I started. My mind went right back to when I was a kid. Now you got to understand, in those days, it was a very, very different world than it is today. There was an innocence about things, especially compared to today. Okay, things like the word sex was never mentioned. The only time sex was mentioned, it was like when we hit the 8th grade, and they said they were going to talk about. They didn't even know the word sex. They said, we're going to teach you about the birds and the bees, and we're all excited. We're going to learn something, right? And we were very, very disappointed because the only thing we learned about was how birds and bees do it. That's it. They never talked about people. So I said, that ain't go anywhere.
Vito, let me ask this: as you after the guys at the church group said, you ought to put some of this down into a book. What was your first step?
I said, because we talked about, all the guys around 65, 70 and so forth. I'm the oldest guy there. And they said, how do you think you started? I said, I started at the beginning. So what do you mean? I said, I'd start. I said, I know my father did. I said, but for myself, I would start when I was with the first shocking experience that I had. And they said, what do you mean shocking? How old were you? I said, I was about 7 years old. He said, what kind of a shocking experience could you have at 7? I said, I started writing this, and I started laughing to myself through the whole chapter. My mother took me with a friend had me with her to visit a friend. Her friend was Gina, and in those days you always walked. Nobody had a car in those days anyway. So it was about 5 blocks away. We get there, and my mom knocks on the door, and Jean says, she says, it's open, just come on in. I'm finishing off toweling off my daughter. So my mother opens up the screen door, and I walk right in front of her, and her daughter's like a year older than me. And as I walk through, the towel drops, and I see this girl. I said, I'm in shock. Up until that time, the only difference that we thought between boys and girls is that boys had short hair, wore pants. Girls had long hair and wore dresses. Then they talked a little different. They weren't as strong as us, okay? And I see this, I look at it, and I'm in shock. I turn to my mother, says, Ma, it's missing. How's she going to pee? There's nothing there. My mother says, oh, come on. She says, I'll explain it to you when you get home. I said, Ma, she says, don't worry about it. When we get home, I'll explain it to you. So we finally get home. I said, Ma, what about, she says, okay, listen to me. I'm only going to say this much. As she's saying this, her face is all red face. She's already embarrassed by it all. She said, what you call your pee-pee is actually called a penis. I said, oh, okay. She said, and when nothing is there, when there's nothing there, it's called a vagina. I said, so if nothing's there, well, how does she pee? She says, the rest you'll understand as you get older. I'm more confused now than ever. So I look out the window, I see my friend Matty. I said, I'm going to go have a game of catch with Matty. So I go out and see Matty. I said, hey, Matty, you never guess what I saw today. He said, what? He said, I said, I saw this girl. I said, she didn't have my mother said, we got to call it a penis instead of a pee-pee. He said, what do you mean she doesn't have it? How's she going to pee? I said, my mother said, if they don't have that, it's called a vagina. He says, okay, look, let me get my baseball glove. We have a game of catch. I'm going to go in and ask my mom. She knows what a vagina is. And then he came out. We had a game of catch, and that was the end of it for a while. But
I can imagine you were blacklisted by a number of parents in the neighborhood. Let's take a second and get back into, as you were writing this, when did you decide, well, maybe I can actually publish this and turn it into something besides writing for myself?
You know what? I wrote it for, and I rewrote it probably half a dozen times. It took me about 8 months. And I said, I think it's pretty good, because I would look at each chapter and I'd laugh, and I said, but that's just me. I said, I got to give it to some friends that I trust, I said, listen, here's a thing before I send it out, and I need your opinion. So I gave it to the bank manager. Okay. It was a woman. She said, oh my, she said, that's hilarious. And then I gave it to some other people that I trusted. They said, you got to get this published. And that motivated me to get it published. Now, if you're going to one of the big guys, you got to get a literary agent and all that other kind of stuff. I said, I'm not going to do that. That's a lot of, that's crap. I said, let me see what I can do with self-publishing and so forth. So I got it with Book Baby, and they've been pretty good.
Well, what does that involve for our viewers and listeners who are thinking about writing their own books? What steps?
The easiest thing to do is you get there are independent, there are firms that are not the big ones, but my experience with Book Baby has been really good. They're not that expensive. They do what they say they're going to do, but you're paying a shot. Still going to cost you a couple of grand, and then it's up to you to promote. And the way I promoted it, I said, well, I put an ad on Facebook. I had 150,000 hits, and I sold maybe 20 books or something like that. I said, I can't do this the way everybody else is doing it. I said, if the book is that different, I better do this differently too. So I got a hold of a communication company, and out of California, Anthony Mora Communications. And I've done now, this is probably about the 16th or 17th thing like this, and also on Skype. And the response has been pretty good. But what I also did is I sent a couple of books out to some people that I had respect for. I says, let me see what happens, And one of them was, believe it or not, was Ken, the guy that does the documentaries.
Oh, Ken Burns.
Ken Burns, yeah. I sent it to his office. I got a letter in the mail, believe it or not an email, a letter in the mail from Florentine Films, okay, saying that they thought the book had some merit as a movie. So I was working on a sequel already. I said, oh, the hell with the sequel. Let me see if I can write a screenplay. So I got a book on how to write a screenplay. Okay, so I wrote a screenplay. And that was more fun than writing a book, because now you're all these different people talking, and you're alone when you're writing. So I'm talking to myself in different voices, and I'm just having I'm my own entertainment, so to speak.
The door to your workroom was probably closed, so people weren't wondering what was going on.
Yeah.
With one book under your belt, would you do another one?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, well, believe it or not, I've been working a lot on a screenplay, and I put more emphasis now on the screenplay, because the people I'm working with, they sent that out to 31 plus movie production studios and so forth, and 2 so far have requested the screenplay. So we don't know where that's going to go, but I've been working on a sequel anyway, because there were stories that I put into the screenplay that when I was working on the sequel, that you start, when you read the book, I say, oh, I could have put this story in here, and you start remembering all these other different things.
What was it like to have somebody edit your manuscript for the book?
Well, the first one that I edited, believe it or not, was my wife, and she kept saying, "Did you really? I got that. Did you really do that?" And oh my God, how could you? And I had a lot of those things. I said, "Yeah, it's a long time ago." And then the publisher, they said, "You mind if we send it to an editor?" I said, "No, please go ahead, go send it out." And I've gotten, I don't know, 4,400 reviews, and they rated it from 1 to 5, 4.5. Because it's a happy book. The funny thing is, the older you get, the more you laugh. Because people can identify with it. When we dated, when you're in high school, you'd date, okay? Dating in those days, you got on a bus, you got to the girl's house, you met her parents, then you paid 2 fares the bus, then you went to the movie, and the only place the teenagers would go would be in a balcony where you can make out. Well, the first one I did, it was really disappointing. I mean, I was so disappointed with the first date that happened. I had a part-time job with Louis the Butcher, okay? And that's how I got some extra money. And I had an experience there that I'll tell you in a minute, because you won't believe it. But anyway, I got some extra money. So I got $15 in my pocket. I said, man, and I'm set for the night, $15, So now I'm down about $3 or $4, and I figured, okay, well, we're in the balcony, and she asked for popcorn and soda. And I put my arm around her. She says, don't touch me until I finish. I still remember the words. Don't touch me until I finish my popcorn and so forth. I said, yeah, geez. I said, I already spent $3.75. I got to wait. So she says, okay, now. Well, after about 5 or 10 minutes of kissing, she stands up, she says, and I look at her and I'm in shock. She says, I have to straighten myself out. I'll be back in a minute. She stands up. One breast is here and the other one's down in her stomach. I said, I'm getting excited over foam. I'm falling in love with foam rubber. It's not real. That was my first date.
Vito, that's a fantastic story. And I know our listeners and our viewers are chuckling as much as I am, I'm sure. What would you like to add about your book writing experience that would benefit other authors?
If it's nonfiction, just tell the truth. There's a lot of humor in life. And, and you can look at the light side, you can look at the dark side, okay? And if you're a person that likes to smile and be happy most of the time, and most people do, really, focus on that. When you start writing, you're going to find, I found, and I've talked to other people, I said, after a while, it's not like you're writing a mystery novel or something like that. You're writing your life's experience. It's more like you're a chronicler of an age. And that's a whole different experience than coming out with a story of a mystery or something like that. This is real. This is a slice of life. So, you're going to be a mystery writer or a science fiction writer. That's one thing. But if you want to have something that, for me, I want to be able to touch people's hearts and see a smile on their face.
You've been watching the Bizgnus podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@bizgnus.com. Thanks for watching.